Member of our band today. How amazing is that? 12 years old. Thank you, Shula. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Rena. Thank you, Tyler. You guys are awesome. Awesome. This place is awesome. We are awesome. We did this probably a month or so ago. One of my favorite things to do is talk about the things that you love. Because we know in our spiritual practice that in order to affect a change, we want to participate in the law of divine efficiency. It's one of the laws. Remember, most of us kind of tucked away our human user handbook when we got here. We've hidden it. We forgot the rules. There are some rules. There are some guidelines to make this life an exceptionally fantastic journey, to really be in awe of the divine. And the law of divine efficiency says that magnificence will cascade throughout the entirety of your life in seemingly one event. That you can feed more than one bird with one seed. You can feed 2, 3, 4 birds with one seed, because we don't throw stones at birds, we feed them with one seed, like Jesus would have multiplied the loaves to feed us, because that's when ever-expanding good is having its way through life. We want to open up to that. One of the ways we can do that is to bathe in the energy, of the divine by evoking it. We evoke it. And so part of that evocation is to kind of bathe in things that you love in general. And one of the things I love being in awe. And this was just awe-inspiring for me, as I can tell it was for everybody else here. It is so awesome to be in awe. And we're in awe because they said yes to their gifts. They said yes to their gifts. Tyler and Rena and everybody else in the band here said yes, and they're sharing their gifts with us. And when the gift of God that you have within you expresses uninhibited and unobstructed, then you are starting to participate in the glory of God as you. We all have magnificent gifts. We have gifts and talents tucked away in our beingness that we barely even scratched the surface. We've barely scratched the surface. And one of the things, as the theme of the month is the ideals of March. And ideals they're goals of excellence. When you have ideals, and we want to have goals of excellence in our life, we want to start to contemplate and reflect. So I'm going to give a charge. The charge this week is, if you have a journal, you're going to have a journal of reflection and gratitude. Reflection and gratitude, because we're going to talk about what sometimes kind of suppresses the impulse from the law of emergence. The law of emergence is that which is seeking to rise up from within you to express itself into the world, the magnificence of you. And sometimes we don't do that, because sometimes we don't even realize that there is something magnificent that wants to express into the world, into the collective, into the magnificence. The topic for today is to impose on the possible. Sometimes we have to just kind of intrude on God. We have to kind of get divinely rude and intrude on God, because we've settled into a level of mediocrity. And the only one we ever have to convince of anything on this journey is us. If things aren't working out the way you'd like them to, then we gotta turn within. We gotta start getting into our spiritual toolbox, and we gotta start using these tools. And we have to beware. We have to be wary of some of the pitfalls on our spiritual journey. Some of the pitfalls are, if you are feeling annoyed by certain things. Annoyance is just a subtle place of frustration, and that means we're suppressing something magnificent from expressing through ourselves. So we just want to be familiar, as you've heard me say many times. We want to become eloquent, proficient. We want to be dynamically fluent in the language of God, the language of truth. For when you understand the truth that sets you free, you are liberated. And generally along the journey, it's kind of this, you've heard the metaphor before, the peeling of the onion. And you're going to heal something. You're going to allow the truth to set you free in one area of your life. You're going to allow the truth to set you free from lack and limitation, maybe in prosperity. You're going to allow yourself to be set free in the area of life of thinking that things aren't working for you, that things maybe are working against you, and you're going to be liberated into knowing that the universe is benevolent beyond your wildest dreams. You know, you hear Reverend Michael oftentimes talk about life is good, yes? And he's not talking about did you have a good day. Life is good. It is good, and good is grace, it's beauty, it's love, it's dynamic. Good is bigger and grander than you could ever even imagine. It starts to approach bliss. Bliss is our nature, and in the human experience, our job is to reveal that nature. We are supposed to turn within. We use our tools of meditation. Meditation, as Joel Goldsmith would say, is our opening to grace and guidance of God. For when we soften into that space, we begin to open, and we are able to hear the truth. We want to be able to turn within and hear that truth, because sometimes we get so busy with all of our multitasking. Can you imagine getting in, this is kind of one of those things that oftentimes happens on the spiritual path, and another guidepost to kind of be aware of, is oftentimes we'll sit in stillness and we're listening to the voice of providence, of divine directioning, and we want to get information, maybe guidance on a particular area of my life. Maybe it has to do with career, maybe it has to do with artistic expression of some sort, maybe it has to do with that $1 million idea, whatever it is. And so we get some providence, and then we try to marry that in to lack and limitation. We try to marry it into the status quo of mediocrity in our lives. It's like, no. We want to expand. We want to allow ourselves to expand our bandwidth within our beingness, expand our energy body, and expand your vocabulary. We want to expand our vocabulary in God so that we understand, and that we keep checking in, we keep tapping in, we keep checking in to hear the voice, the still small voice of providence. And so what that could possibly look like right now, this might be going on in somebody's life, I'm not sure. But I spend a little bit of time in meditation, and I spend a little bit of time maybe in physical fitness, and I spend a little bit of time in my creative or my career or my job or whatever. And I keep myself busy. Maybe I'm multitasking here and there, and I think I'm getting a lot done. The law of divine efficiency will leave you with leftover time. If you allow God to do the heavy lifting, as was one of the topics of several weeks ago, then you will end up in a spacious place. But we have to inquire for that help. And so what it looks like is the gradation of our day is going to start to shift, where you're going to spend way more time in stillness. And it's not going to be like this boring, kind of like, oh my God, I'm going to go sit in quiet and solitude and just kind of be bored out of my mind. It's dynamic, it's rich, it's delicious. When you feel the Holy Spirit flowing through you, there's almost nothing better. One of the things that is better in the human experience is when you allow that to turn into dynamic right action, where it flows through. It's kind of like, you fill with it. And then the goal here would be to stay in a lucid state of divine awareness so that you go out into the world and then you are the omni-activity of God. You speak truth wherever you go. And a lot of times you will move mountains, like our women who went on the march this weekend. We move mountains by holding the consciousness, not trying to convince somebody. Anytime you're trying to convince somebody of something, you're trying to convince yourself. If you are 100% ironclad in anything that you would want to convince somebody of, they'll just come over to you and just say, I want what you have. And they'll want you to just, through osmosis, you'll start to absorb it. You want to expand your energy field so that it is about as big as the diameter of this room here, and that where you go, you are the harbinger, you are the ambassador, you are the way shower that allows the energy to go before you and make the crooked path straight. Not only does it make the crooked path straight for you, but it blesses and it caresses everyone. And so we want to be aware of some of the pitfalls of that, and that's becoming aware of somewhat the negative side of life, which is those feelings. We really want to become proficient with the language of our emotional body. Our emotional body, it is so important to understand that if you're feeling anger, annoyance, frustration, guilt, shame, within that, as Rumi would say, within the wound is the opening for the light to come through. Just saw a great movie, although a couple of my friends at women didn't think it was all that great, but I thought it was great. What was the movie? The Oprah Winfrey, A Wrinkle in Time. Yes, profound movie, great message. People I went with had a couple issues with the production quality. But anyway, that's where it's kind of like, it's not the messenger, it's the message. And the message is phenomenal because it is talking about spiritual principle in that movie. That movie is talking about spiritual principle. And one of the gifts that we get, and it's so true, the movie is very true. They have the guides, our spirit guides that come and help us. We have spirit guides, we do. We have spirit guides. And they come and they do help us, but we have to listen, and they'll inform us, and they will tell us. And one of the things that they're communicating to us, and one of the things that they communicated in the movie, is in the wound, in the hurt is where you're going to find the liberation, the opening. We have nothing to fear but fear itself, and when we go into it, no matter what it is, and I know that sometimes it's challenging, sometimes we're in a space. I had a client recently who was going through a hugely tough time with finances, to the point where he really thought he was going to have to give up his home, and he doesn't know where he was going to go. And I was like, okay, these are one of those rough spots. This is when the call is calling you to go deep now. When it gets loud, it's like, you've heard me say it before, pain, whether it's emotional pain as anguish, or mental pain, mental anguish, or physical pain, any of the above, pay attention inside now. There's more urgency to pay attention inside now when it becomes dire. If it becomes dire, it just means we let it go a little too long. So if we turn in ahead of time, if we're spiritually proactive, and we'll know how to make those corrections, align with the auto-correction of the universe. So sometimes if you imagine, I've actually seen this happen. I was with a girlfriend a few weeks ago and this happened. You have your GPS and you put in where you want to go, and then it's like, okay, turn left here and turn right there, and it's always fun when it mispronounces the names of the streets. And it's like Sepulveda. So anyway, I was kind of getting a kick out of that, but the point of the story is not that. The point of the story is that she got so involved in this story of a drama in her life that she missed the turn because she didn't hear when the GPS said, turn left here. And I was like, hey, and she was so involved in her story. I'm like, hey, we gotta, I'm like, excuse me. The GPS told us we have to, oh my goodness. And then you have to recalibrate and back up, and it's not quite as efficient if you allow yourself. There is a way to do anything. If you allow yourself, as you grow into I want you to just come with me here, a lucid state of divine awareness. You do not come out of it. You don't go into meditation and then come back out and take off and put on your blinders and stop hearing the still small voice and stop seeing and knowing providence. You stay in it. So that's one of our goals, is to cultivate that, and to also cultivate using, as we participate in the law of purification. The law of purification, which is always happening, it's always happening. The law of creation is always happening. The law of purification is always happening. They're both always happening. That which cleanses your body, your respiratory system, your endocrine system, your digestive system, everything that's going, every 24 hours a day, your body is cleansing itself. Your emotional body is trying to cleanse itself, and your mental body is trying to cleanse itself. It all follows the same pattern. It wants to purge toxins being anything that is erroneous to the truth. And so when we're eating the erroneous truth of processed foods and sugar and preservatives, those are erroneous, because what are they trying to do? They're trying to circumvent something. When we put preservatives into food, we're trying to circumvent, we're trying to use a kind of a very erroneous idea of how to keep it fresh. Well, it's not fresh if you're putting preservatives in it. It's actually the opposite of fresh. And so your body, the minute you ingest all of that, is going, oh my God, here comes that cake again. We got to pull out all of the sugar, pull out all the preservatives, and your body has to kind of go into overdrive to flush that. Oh, here come those French fries again. And it's like that dead food. We don't want to have that dead food in our body. We want to, because now your body has to go into overdrive to flush it out. Same thing happens with your emotional toxins. Oh my God, here comes, in the Ayurvedic tradition, what they look at is how you digest things. They're looking at how the body digests things, because the way you digest things tells a lot about what's going on in your physical body. The way you digest your emotions, the way you digest your thoughts also is very telling. And we don't want to have an emotional or mental indigestion within our beingness. We want to be able to have that fluid. Imagine, in the perfect world, you're eating all this whole plant-based, whole foods food that's full with all the nutrition you need, that brings forward vitality, because we know, as Reverend Michael often says, that food is fuel and it's medicine. And in the perfect world, it's just fuel. It's just fuel, and you have this dynamic fuel. It's renewable. It's not fossil fuel. It's not based in erroneous ideas or limited concepts. And so you're just eating just the right amount, and it's delicious. It's delicious because you haven't been participating in the things that give you a false sense of what's delicious. Because if you've ever been on a cleanse, and you've cleansed your body of particular toxins, you do one of those really good juice cleanses or something like that, and you make sure that it's full of all the nutrients that are fresh and vital and organic and alive, your taste buds will change. And all of a sudden, nothing against Hershey or Nestle, but all of a sudden that Nestle bar just tastes horrible, because you can taste all of the toxins in that you couldn't taste before. So you want to purify and cleanse your beingness. And so we do that through the practices of reflection. And reflection, so the charge is to have a journal that you want to keep, and you want to reflect on your day. Just like we go ahead and we take showers and we cleanse ourselves, and we have a certain amount of hygiene to brush our teeth and get the bacteria and the toxins and whatever, those cookies out of our teeth and stuff like that. We want to do that to the rest of our body, and we want to, the great thing is when you do the spiritual practices and principles, as you start to apply them, as you move into a lucid state of divine awareness, the rest of it becomes just second nature. It's easy peasy breezy. You get to go to Staples and buy one of those buttons. That was easy. And you just can push it all day long, because you have submitted to making it more important to be spiritually awake than to gossip. If you want emotional indigestion, go ahead and start gossiping or talking about what's wrong and bad in the world instead of about what's right and good. But there's an inertia, there's a divine inertia that wants to pull you to what's right and good. But our traumas, the traumas that are in our energy body, they sometimes pull us. It's a lowercase d or lowercase e inertia, and that sometimes pulls us to what's wrong and what's bad. And so we want to become aware. As you become aware of the language of your beingness, the language of truth, the language of God, you can differentiate between the lowercase e of earthly transitory inertia that's pulling you to, oh my God, I'm so tempted to eat those fries. I'm so tempted to gossip about so-and-so and say what's bad. As that clears out of your energy body, it's like, oh wow, okay, now I just feel the natural whoosh. I can just be pulled into the divine inertia, the law of purification, the law of creation, uninhibited, unobstructed by any of my nasty habits. Because what you want to do is we want to relinquish those. We relinquish them and we give them to God. And that is what prayer, as Zen was talking about in the reading earlier this morning. That is what prayer does. It's a requalifying agent. It's a portal from the human realm to the divine realm, and allows us to relinquish limiting ideas and thoughts. And so this journal that I would like you to keep, the journal of reflection, is to reflect over the day, because we want to cleanse anything that came along during the day. And we want to just take a moment, and we want to allow the energy of forgiveness to purify anything that came up during the day. Did I behave badly in any way without making myself bad or wrong? I've had a few arguments in my day, if you can believe it. But they are far less and few between than they've ever been. I do have somebody who could testify that once upon a time, arguments were a little more frequent. Today, they hardly exist. Because we've been cleaning our energy bodies and becoming into a place of homeostasis within our own beingness. And so that journal allows you to go and clean. And one of the things that it hit me like in my heart, it brought tears. And I remember after an argument one time, and I said something, and you feel all righteous about it, and you didn't respect me, whatever it is. And then afterwards, I kind of reflected. I did exactly what I would ask you to do. I reflected on the truth and remembering, oh wow, I'm just trying to convince myself. And then I heard the words that I said. And it hurt. It hurt. And I was like, I don't want to participate in hurting others. I want to participate in being the benevolent, beneficial presence on this planet. And so as you reflect, you can kind of clean up, and you've heard me once before talk about, the dust bunnies of our lives, the little dust bunnies, the little things that we say or do sometimes that contribute to mediocrity. Sometimes those are the most challenging because they're so small, they seem so insignificant. Why bother, it's not that big of a deal. We wait until it gets big. And then it really wants to pull us down, and it's like, help! Like, no, that's fine. I don't think it's so much fun, though. So if we can be spiritually proactive and become aware of the language of our heart, and as Ernest Holm would say, that love is what points the way, and the law is what brings it into your experience. So if you're adhering to the laws, if you know the laws, if you pull out your manual from under the dust, maybe it's under your bed somewhere, pull out the manual of how to work through life and understand the laws of purification. So you'll have your journal and you'll reflect on what had happened that day, that week, and you'll just reflect on it and know, is there anything I need to clean up? Is there any area where I have to practice forgiveness? And you'll apply that forgiveness to it, and you'll allow yourself to cleanse your beingness. And then you'll move over, I'll just say, however you want to organize this journal, but maybe the left page is for the things that I need to forgive, and then the right page is the things I'm grateful for. And just keep that journal. And so some people, I don't have time. Yes, you do. You have plenty of time. You have plenty of time to meditate. You have plenty of time to keep a journal. You have plenty of time to pray. Anybody who says you don't have enough time, that is hogwash, that is poppycock. Haven't heard that word in a long time. That's kind of fun. Anyway, sometimes I amuse myself, pardon me. So, anyway, it's just simply not true. It would be one of the lies that your trauma body would tell you because it's saying, no, gotta do. And it's like, no. Slow down, be still, and know that I am. That's what we're interested in. So I'm going to charge you with that. I'm also going to charge you with a few more affirmations because, like I said, meditation is easy. You relax. You sit there. The only thing you maybe have to overcome is like, oh God, I want to go somewhere. It's like, oh no, chill. Schedule it. Make it more important than anything. And what you're going to find is that gradation, you're going to end up, instead of doing, let's say like 90% of your waking moments are doing. That's probably low compared to, let's say, 10% of my spiritual practice. Though what's going to happen is you're going to see that gradation start to switch, and the scales are going to start to move, and you're going to end up spending more time in your spiritual practice, more time in meditation, more time with prayer and your prayer partners, more time speaking it affirmatively, more time practicing in the laws of purification and using your journal, and all of a sudden, you know what you're going to end up with? More time. You're going to have more time because the law of deficiency will kick in. I mean, not deficiency, the law of efficiency. The law of deficiency is what you were doing before. The law of efficiency kicks in, and all of a sudden, as some of you know, one of my favorite things in the world, besides being in awe of beauty, awe of God, is spaciousness. Having more than enough time to do what you need to do. Having more than enough resources. Having more than enough money. Having more than enough joy. Having more than enough support.
Yes.
So we are going to proclaim this.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you to please rise one more time as we just recite some affirmations, and we're going to seal them in the prayer field. I always seek God's truth.
I always seek God's truth.
It is easy for me to understand God's truth.
It is easy for me to understand God's truth.
I am one with the Holy Spirit of God.
I am one with the Holy Spirit of God.
I always seek the best from people.
I always seek the best from people.
People always seek the best from me.
People always seek the best from me.
My spiritual practice is spacious,
My spiritual practice is spacious,
joyous,
liberating,
and fun. And so it is. Amen. Amen. Ashe. Aho. Hotep. And hallelujah. Thank you. That is delicious. And are we ushers or bees? Ushers, yes. So as we prepare our time of conscious giving, remembering that as we participate in the law of circulation, as we participate in the unlimited abundance of the Holy Spirit of God, knowing that there is no limit to how much we can receive or give, as we open to that, as we expand the bandwidth of prosperity in our lives, as we expand the bandwidth of time, of support, of spaciousness in our lives, we take a moment as we reflect on the law of circulation and just holding that tithe in your hands. And knowing that it is the very nature of our beingness to know that we are sourced and supplied from the Holy Spirit of God, that it is an infinite supply, and that we are generous by nature, for we have nothing to lose and everything to give and everything to receive. And so as we practice the holy, sacred, eternal law of knowing that God is our source and our supply, we infuse our gift. We give from a place of holy light. We give from a place of holy love, and we give from a place of confidence, knowing that we are giving God's money. And we circulate that with divine expectancy, expecting it to come back to us minimally tenfold. And it's from a place of gratitude, knowing this is so, these are the laws of the universe. They are immutable, and we let them be in gratitude. And so it is. And we ask the ushers to go forward.